Greetings. I issue greetings to you. I issue you greetings and green things. Hi, Ron Allen Salon. Hey, Genexial. At the moment, I'm up. It's one thing that's up. Had a very long day. Are you my favorite INFP? Wow. I thought it was Dulles. I didn't even know you were an INFP. Now I do, fortunately. And my life is so much better. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of stuff done today. A lot of stuff. But I'm tired of getting stuff done now. And the last little quote unquote work I was working on was didn't really pan out. So I felt like I was wasting my time. ZB. What type do you thought I was? I had no idea. I never really thought about it, I guess. I don't tend to, it's strange because I guess I'm SI, I don't tend to think about people in terms of their types. Unless I'm typing them, you know? In which case, that's what they're paying me to do. But like, I don't find the whole pattern thing particularly useful in life. Like, you know, well, this hilarious story. So Rachel has a sort of troubled look on her face today. I just don't understand it. I just feeling kind of like just, man, tired and I'm going to check astrology charts. Is anything in retrograde? What does the tarot say? Maybe you don't need astrology or the tarot to tell you what's wrong. I can tell you what's wrong. It's called doing drugs. No, when you do speed and step, you get fussy. Niels across himself debunked astrology? Why would he bother? I wonder. What does he think it is? Some sort of scientific theory? And not like she was having a bad day or anything particular. It was just she was feeling like, yeah, you know. And I explained to her last night. I said, "Oh, I should tell you about this. Everybody except me, ENTPs, and Taylor, ESTPs, they have this part of the speed cycle that includes sadness or depression or negative emotions. By somebody who doesn't know how to type people, obviously. Ron Salon, Neil deGrasse Tyson is not an ENTP. Oh, good. I'm glad. All are right hand. I won't have to issue a citation like I was thinking I was going to have to. ENTPs and ESTPs, but most of all ENTPs don't seem to have the FI side effects. And I think the reason is mostly ENTPs is because we convert it all into SI. So when I feel sad, I feel sleepy and hungry. I do get weepy like the day after I quit doing it, but I don't feel sad. I feel like really in touch with my emotions or something. Just like, it's not like sad things that are going to cry. It's just like commercials or whatever. Or your mom, of course. She always made me cry. What's that? When puppies die. We had a kitten die in Laverne that got attacked by a dog. I was sad. I sat with it. Didn't make it. That's sad. Makes me sad to think about it. But you know, what are you going to do with that, right? It's like, well, that's not very useful. I mean, I'm not all about utility or anything, but that just sounds like just a weight on your shoulders, having to worry about your feelings all the time. Like, I was really worried for Lilu last night. Lilu successfully jumps out of the fucking tank. I couldn't believe it. After I set up all this shit for him to have someplace to go up, and then everybody's saying they don't want to go up. They don't want to go up. And then I took all that shit down, and then last night I'm sitting here and I hear this fucking Lilu. I don't want him to have a lid. I don't want to. No lids. No lids. I don't want a lid. But now I've got a really cool setup. So I've got this potted plant island. It's not a potted plant, but a pot for a potted plant. This island that's just above the water line. So if the water's all the way full in the tank, it'll get in there a little bit. But it's also got like land that you could sit on if you were a crayfish, and it's got like no big fish are going to get in there. If any fish get in there at all, it'll be little fish. But so he'll basically be able to have it on his face if he can find it and remember where it is, and wants to go there. After I put him back in the tank, it was quite a long fall. Frankly, I was quite concerned for him. But after I put him back in the tank, he went to his favorite hiding place, which is this one spot in the back corner where he's like underneath a bunch of I don't want a lid, Genexial. God. Haven't you ever heard the expression, lids are for losers? I'm really getting hyped up for my telethon. I'm going to host to raise awareness about the dangers posed by people who don't understand cognitive functions, but actually talk about them anyway. Now, of course, it's a telethon. I'll be raising money to raise awareness, but I'm going to keep all the money because, after all, I'm going to be the one raising awareness. So anyway, this is basically what it is. It's a telethon for C.S. Joseph and Dave Seaver Powers and Queen's Gambit. And I'm going to encourage everybody to help them because they need a lot of help. They found themselves the equivalent of blind people in a painting judging contest, or the equivalent of women driving. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. A lid used to be an amount of weed. It did. It used to be an ounce, basically. But you could refer to your stash as your lid regardless. Queen's Gambit has 500,000 types. The thing is, he certainly did put a lot of work into making a table, but he seems to think that You just say, look at this. Yeah, a lot of evil in this area here. That's somehow convincing of something. Crazy nut. I was thinking about doing a video about his comment that we're all in collusion with each other. You know, I mean, it's so silly because if I were trying to make a lot of money, I'd be doing everything so differently, you know? I may have to type Police Queen's Gambit again. Just as sort of an example of what bad thing it looks like, you know? So maybe we get away with this and not be accused of bullying if I just keep expressing how we have got to stop turning a blind eye. It would be a type police where I would just be issuing citations for wrong information about typology. And I'd probably issue them a shit ton of citations. I was thinking about doing that, just maybe doing some episodes where I issue citations. For wrong statements. Yeah, you have to stay in woke character for the whole thing for sure. If we, with a country this rich and this powerful and this energized, if we can't make sure that no typologist is left behind, we're doing something wrong. Now, I get it. I understand that it's very, very difficult for people with certain cognitive function stacks to conceptually get cognitive functions. And that's why we need to raise awareness. I mean, Queen's Gambit's he's what's known as a wannabe cop. He's not even a rent-a-cop. He's a wannabe rent-a-cop. He doesn't have any reasons for anything. He just makes claims. He says, you can see this there. You can see that there. You can see this there. It's, it's the ever-repeating nightmare. People saying words without any cause to do so. Queen's Gambit's a particularly interesting example because he's so very much like living his whole life in response to me, kind of seems like it's weird. I mean, the thing is, I could do a bunch of videos where I just watch little bits of things and say, this is wrong because, this is wrong because, this is wrong because, this is wrong because. Because I have one arm. That's why he's a bad drummer. He has one arm. I really thought, though, that an experience earlier today with Legends Fall clarified for me the difference between the analyst and the executive. So, like, Legends Fall rejects the idea of dismissing C.S. Joseph entirely because, after all, C.S. Joseph has some good things to say about typology. In other words, Legends Fall's frame is personal. He needs to acquire good knowledge about cognitive functions. If C.S. Joseph has some, why wouldn't he get it from him? An analyst would say, the problem is you're not sure which pieces of information are good or not because he doesn't provide enough justifications. A meta-analyst would say you should reject everything he says because he's not engaging in the process properly. So even if he is right, you don't want to include that slightly poisonous rightness in your bag because it probably links to some other wrongness of his. And unless you're very deft at separating the things, then you might drag it into your bag with you. Arresting Biscuits. I would like to play a game called Arresting Biscuits. And the goal is to go to various KFCs and try to convince the employees there that you need to place one of their biscuits under arrest. It's like a real world road rules. That's a hard title to say. Real world road rules? It's freaking really hard to say. It's harder to say than hard to say, which is quite easy to say. He's type policed me 3 times. Has he said different things each time about what I am or what? He doesn't care. That shit doesn't bother him, obviously. I mean, I did not know what to make of him at first. But then, what really pissed him off is I called him weak. I think that's the word he used. He's just incredibly weak. Well, that's what he was saying. That was his ideas were incredibly weak, I didn't type him. I type policed him. So I had a different claim. He was making a different claim the second time. So I typed policing him again because he had now retyped himself, but still typed himself wrong. I don't typically type people in type policing. I don't know what type he is. ISTJ sounds right, like a really messed up ISTJ, I guess. But why would he be that? I don't think so. Why would he be that interested in? Inverse ISFJ. What is an inverse ISFJ? Does that mean it's like an ISFJ, but the cognitive functions are in the opposite order? So instead of SIFETINE, it goes NETI FESI. If that's the case, then he's right. And that's called an ENTP. That's what an inverted ISFJ is. I think he's safely incompetent. Unlike C.S. Joseph, who I think is dangerously incompetent, or O.P. Dave Superpowers, who I think is recklessly incompetent. But I just genuinely, I think Queen's Gambit is safely incompetent because not only is he completely incompetent, but he has no charisma whatsoever. So it's not like he's ever going to really sell a lot of people on his terrible ideas, unless they already agree with him. Last I heard, I mean, the last thing I watched of his was him using a bunch of vaultology shit to type me without any kind of justifications as to why that would be a good way to type somebody or why it would be definitive, you know? Yeah. And, you know, some people are even helpfully incompetent, pleasantly and agreeably incompetent. Like, I don't think Megan Lavoda is particularly great typologist or anything. Not that I think she's saying a bunch of wrong shit or that she gets a bunch of people wrong. I just, I know that she's not playing advanced. She's playing on easy level, you know? So that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Is she incompetent in some sense? Well, I mean, yeah, sure, but that's not a problem in that instance. It's because she's doing her best and not making a bunch of outrageous claims and stuff. I'm not talking about Queen's Game. I'm talking about again Megan Lavoda. VI, I don't know what VI is. Right. Well, Catherine, based on the fact that you're just here in chat, you could be a horse. Now, it would take some pretty deft hoof work or a very large keyboard. But given that I can't see or hear you, I can imagine you possibly being a horse. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Catherine. I had it on the other end of the equation earlier with Gen Xil, realizing this lag. It's like, God, lag, stop making my comments irrelevant. You go for the larger keyboard? You mean you don't want to put in the work required to deftly execute? Oh, VI is visual typing? Yeah, well, of course, the problem with it is, I mean, if I go pay somebody to type me, and their answer to why I'm yeah is a lot of words saying, you look like one to me, I'm going to have a problem with that experience. Okay, yeah, playing on easy mode is fine, though. He's not being dangerously incompetent, right? He's just he's just grabbing the cash. Why not? Well, look, I'm not disputing the fact that there do seem to be visual correlates. Okay, there absolutely are visual correlates. I most of the time when somebody comes in to be typed by me, and I think immediately they look beta quadra, they're beta quadra most of the time, but not quite always. And people from foreign lands sometimes will have a very different visual look about them. You know, like they're like beta quadra face. the eyes can be sort of universal, but not exactly. Regardless, the point is that it's not an explanation for anything. And I have a lot of sympathy or empathy or whatever you want to call for mental illness. But if your mental illness is shitting on me, then copying me, and then spreading disinformation about something that actually does matter, cognitive functions, and something that goes to the territory, me. I mean, it's like, okay, can you point your mental illness someplace else, please? If that's going to be your excuse, like, don't come down on it. Not you, I mean, but his. Like, or if that's going to be how it plays out, I shouldn't come down on him or whatever because he's got mental illness. Then, well, you know, Catherine, one advantage of that may be I could get on Dr. Phil. YouTuber with a stalker. They love that shit. Dr. Phil loves that. They eat that shit up. Well, more or less, that's all I've done. Catherine is completely ignored. But he happens to be a subject of conversation at the moment. Because I really do like, basically because he's part of a fun idea that somebody suggested earlier, which is to hold a telethon. I want to hold a telethon for C.S. Joseph, Queen's Gambit, and Dave Superpowers, where I keep all the money to raise awareness about how they're wrong. I think it's a great idea. Let's see. Intuitive, extreme introvert. You're an INFJ too? Not me, not like me, I mean, but I have an INFJ of my own, you know. I keep one in that room over there. INFJs are super cool. INFJs are the coolest. An intuitive, logical extrovert. Oh no, Mirage isn't going to kill you. Don't listen to socionics. Let me explain why socionics is wrong about duality and Mirage with perceiving types. The reason is because INFJ and ENTP both have two communicative functions in their ego stack. Extroverted intuition, introverted intuition. Introverted thinking, extroverted feeling. They also additionally have another metaphysical function in the third slot, which is to say introverted thinking or extroverted feeling, depending. But compare that against the ISFJ. The ISFJ has got SI, which is a physical function, as their dominant function. So, plagiarizing socionics? I mean, it's so strange when people understand the world so poorly. I've never claimed to have not. I take ideas from all kinds of places. Definitely socionics. Read a lot of shit from socionics. You know, I'm trying to figure it out too. Sociologists are trying to figure out the same thing I'm trying to figure out. They've done a lot of the work, you know. Help me understand, help me have a splay of different things, good directionalities and bad directionalities that they did. Look, Catherine, they're not divided. It's just people don't understand what they're talking about. If you're going to talk about functions, we really always should specify. I'm speaking of the function from an agential perspective now, where I'm the observer, or I'm speaking of the function from a process perspective, or I'm speaking of the function from a correlative perspective, or a an affect, but not a agential perspective, or any of those kind of things. But if we're not saying those kind of things, then we're not really even we can't possibly get down to the nitty-gritty of distinguishing sparrows that look a lot like blue jays from blue jays that look a lot like sparrows, okay, which is the ultimate challenge of cognitive functions. We can't possibly do that if we aren't making sure that the things we're looking at are birds at all, right? So it's like a lot of people, when they're talking about cognitive functions, they say cognitive function, this function is meow. Those sentences drive me insane. There's got to be some kind of frame there. So, in other words, extroverted sensing for a dominant extroverted sensor plays out like meow. Okay. Yeah, Rain, what I mean by that is simply this. An example sentence is, I watched the squirrel run up the tree. In the sentence, I watched the squirrel run up the tree, I is the subject of the sentence. But because I is not really doing anything, there's actually a second subject in that sentence. And it's squirrel. It's the only form of linguistics in English that is a phrase that takes a subject. And that's the infinitive phrase, to run up the tree. The to is dropped. The squirrel is the subject of the infinitive. The point about agent, subject, object is if I say Bob hit Judy, there's an implied statement that's behind that, which is I observed or someone told me Bob hit Judy. That agential part is largely excluded from our talking to each other. But because it's excluded from our talking to each other, people are fixated on this subjective objective dichotomy without being able to meaningfully answer the questions about it, because they don't recognize that being a subject acting in the world is different than being an agent knowing or deliberating. Your agential functions are your knowledge and deliberation functions, although depending on your deliberation function, it may play more of a role in the world than zero. So video killed you? I guess that's the answer to the question. Want to know who killed me? My real name's the radio star. Well, the answer then is video. Hillary Clinton didn't kill Jeffrey Epstein. Hillary Clinton killed Abraham Lincoln. Get it right. Well, Catherine, this is the thing. INFJs are the ultimate receiving types. And the reason they're the ultimate receiving types is because, unlike ISFJs, they're not attentive to their particulars, their body and so forth, how they're feeling. So that's not relating those things isn't a way to engage with the world. That's one way they might extrovert, They don't have a natural, obvious sense to themselves that they'd be better off and are happier when they include more talking and talking out ideas. ISFJs do have that. INFJs don't have that. The reason is because ISFJs have SI in the 4th slot. INFJs are receiving in real time. So it's very unlikely they're going to not notice something. ISFJs, you can sneak some shit past them, no problem. Hard to sneak stuff past INFJs. At the same time, because they're noticing everything that's actually happening, they're not referencing what's happened before. In other words, they're not keeping track of what's happening. And ISFJs are referencing what happened before all the time. And whatever stratagem that they used previously to engage with somebody that worked, they'll re-employ it. Say the same thing, offer the same offer, or whatever. So the INFJ is much more of a pure receiver. They're an NI receiver, which means being a receiver is not kindness or doormatness or anything like that. It's just, it means let's say you are trying to sneak up on a enemy base and you're moving through the jungle at night, trying to be very quiet and stuff. Well, and you pause. You think you hear something. And everyone's silent. Everyone in that moment is in receive mode, right? They're listening for a key piece of information. See, maybe a key light they see, they're going to give them some knowledge about what's going on or something like that, right? They're in receive mode. Well, INTJs are not INTJs, but INTJs too, but INFJs are always in receive mode as a default. And so one thing I had to learn and to start to internalize more is Rachel genuinely isn't annoyed by my talking too much or talking at her a lot, you know? She's most comfortable being in the role of listening and chiming in when she feels like it, you know? She does like to expert sometimes, like she likes to sing along with the song sometimes. As far as this loyalty thing, let me address that next. INFJ want people to be loyal to them. Fuck yeah, they do. And additionally, not according to socionics. Well, yeah, INFJs absolutely want people to be loyal to them, but additionally, they want to be included in everything. So, like that's one difference between ISFJ and INFJ. ISFJs don't want to be included in everything. They've got their own habits, and they're and ISFJ is very much in control of his or her own day. They wake up knowing what's ahead of them during the day and how many, it's like, okay, I got to work it too, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to do yeah. All right, so that kind of thing. So ISFJs don't need and don't want to be included in everything you do as much as INFJs do in general, or at least they want to be offered to be included. They don't necessarily want to be included, but they want to know that they're welcome to be included. And Rachel and I really do spend like all of our time together. Rachel worries about loyalty because she's NI. So from an NI perspective, people have dating capital, and I have more dating capital than she does. People have things of value that they bring into the relationship. and I have more things of value that I bring to the relationship that she does. So from her and I perspective, that makes her nervous because it's like, well, what if Eric sort of wakes up and recognizes all of this or something, that I'm not really a very good deal for him, right? That's kind of an NIFE thing. I'm SI though. I don't operate like that or think like that at all. For me, it's about time invested into somebody and how that's been paying back, you know? So for me, the longer and more I invest time into Rachel, the happier I am with my purchase, so to speak. You know, it's like a very complicated piece of audio equipment. It takes a long time till you really get familiar with the whole thing and decide how much you like it or not. You know, but at this point, I've been invested in this relationship now for a year and, well, year and a half. Well, I mean, the purchase was a metaphor. The investment of time I see as a very real thing. I mean, I can't give very much of my time to very many people. None of you are spending all day with me. I mean, you probably don't want to, but you know, I mean, the point is, if I'm spending my time with you, if you're around me all the time and I'm never getting annoyed and sick of you and wanting you to go away, first of all, that's an absolute unheard of miracle. Never happened before. You know, it's like in every relationship I've had before, and I mean every single relationship of any kind, I had at least some limited tolerance for the other person. With Rachel, I genuinely I never feel sick of her or like, okay, go away, whatever. She's very quiet, of course. She doesn't do much to annoy anybody, but certainly not me. But we just see so eye to eye aesthetically. That's hugely important, you know. I don't want to hear my significant other say something like, "Oh, I I love Kings of Leon. That's a great band." I don't want to hear my significant other say that. I've been through that all my life. Hearing my significant other say things that make me want to go, okay. What does one do with this? This affront to all goodness and truth. That my significant other likes this. What do I do with this piece of information? You know? Only during sex, Piss Stopperson. We have a very, very fair and equal relationship. We have a um, we have an active effort on both parties' parts to engage in power sharing where appropriate, and an active effort on both parties to avoid any zero-sum things. To be in a good relationship, the number one rule is this: avoid zero sums. Don't if you're in a relationship where you find you're that one person's having to win and the other person to lose something, that's a fucking problem. That's a huge problem. How is what equal? You want to share a pic, Boba Fett? I'm gonna make you a moderator for a second. Well, a zero-sum competition is one in which somebody has to lose in order for somebody to win. So like a debate competition is zero-sum. One person at the end of the competition is the winner. Everybody else is some variety of losers, second, third, fourth, fifth, well, whatever, right? Now compare that against a class, a regular classroom teaching class. You can have multiple kids get 100% on the test. That's not zero-sum. Well, the other thing is, Catherine, that is he is misperceiving you in that instance because INFJs don't use leverage, which is critically important with the ENTPs. That's another possible problem with ISFJs and ENTPs is ISFJs are not unwilling to use leverage. Well, I'm sorry. If you don't meow, I'm just going to meow. Nobody should ever say that to me because I hate being leveraged by action, by real concrete action, SE action. I don't like being threatened. I don't like being positioned. I don't like being, I don't like being maneuvered. So the thing is, because the INFJ has SE polar, and they don't really get SE either. I mean, not SE polar. I'm sorry. Because the INFJ has TE polar and SE fourth, they don't feel like they're in any position to judge on SE because fourth, you feel like you're inferior about it yourself anyway. But right. Well, leverage should be clearly defined as this: the use of some sort of action in the physical world or meaningful permanent change of status. Now, INFJ has SE fourth. I'm talking about INFJs and why they don't leverage like ISFJs do. Well, I mean, look, Catherine, it's a couple of things. It definitely, to a certain extent, is a taxonomy, but it's a taxonomy of observable realities that are no less concretely observable than, say, animals who are being taxonomy. I mean, no, but it's one part of it is a taxonomy, and that doesn't make it invalid. I know, Catherine. For fuck's sake, don't make me say FFS. God. Now I'm going to break down and cry all over you. And then what are you going to do? You're going to be drowning in some other man's tears. And when you get home and your ENTP boyfriend smells his tears on you, that would be my tears, he's going to say, what were you up to? What is that stuff? Is that semen? And you'll say, no, it's just tears. Tears? Who is crying on you? My friend Susan. You don't have a friend, Susan. I wish magic potions really did require tears. Like that would be some value to collect vials of people's tears. Okay. Well, you know what, Catherine? You got to be prepped. Okay. Um, Next time you say something like that, you go, "No, I was talking to an ENTP. Don't even bother." If he wants to say something, be like, imagine if it were you who was a super expert on something. Hmm? He's like, shit, I can't even possibly get in. He's so deep into that game, I can't even possibly compete right now. So I'll just dismiss the whole fucking thing. Smart thing to do, really. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, maybe he needs to eat more mashed potatoes. And Skygear, didn't I tell you that fulcrum is a dirty word? Urban Dictionary tells me it means when a man wraps his scrotum around a Slim Jim and then uses that to slap the forehead of his lover. That's a fulcrum. Oh, Catherine. Is it possible to overuse so multi-syllable the name as Catherine? If it were a title, you'd be the person who puts catheters in people. What do you think about that? Maybe it's time you give somebody a fulcrum. Or let somebody give it to you, I guess. I don't like to call bluffs either. You know, see, that's the thing. I don't want to be bluffed at. I want to have a real conversation. I hate the concept that we can't resolve this with words so that we reach consensus. That instead, one of us has to lose, or you're going to force me to lose because you don't care that I'm right. You're not willing to listen, and you're not willing to talk it out until we reach agreement. I mean, I don't like my significant other bluffing me. I like when people bluff me around here. That's fun, but because they're not a good person then in my mind. If they're pulling that shit with me, they shouldn't be my significant other. It's like took me fucking 48 years to learn this, but I let women get away with all kinds of shit I never should have let them get away with. The thing is, I'm misspeaking when I say that. I didn't let them get away with it. I just failed to deal with it successfully. I would scold them and yell at them and stuff if they were not behaving properly. I mean, piss Christopherson, a relationship shouldn't even be measured in that fashion. If it's a good, healthy relationship, it's predicated on a couple of very simple rules. You're fully on each other's team so that when you have to talk to your significant other about something, when there is a problem, it's harder for you than it is for them. You know, you're genuinely on the other person's team. You're 100% all in committed such that you can put to bed any concerns about the lack of stability in a relationship. Like it might not last or something. So what I'm trying to instill in Rachel to the extent that I can right now, because she, being NI, is more prone to assuming that I might trade her in for a younger model or something, you know? But that's not how I roll. I like to be in a relationship, and I like to be settled into a long-standing relationship. The problem I've had heretofore is women kept leaving me until I got to Kimberly, in which case she forced me to um, break up with her. She's such an absolute, yeah. I don't love it. Not with my significant others. I mean, if I did, it was an ugly kind of enjoyment, you know. You can see me fighting with significant others around the channel all the time. Like if you go back, not you can't see it in the last year or so, but if you go back to Kimberly, you see us fighting all the time. You see how she talked to me, you see how she treated me. I did not like it. I very much disliked it. It made me very mad. Um, uh, I treat my significant other relationships differently than any other kind of relationship or family in general, I guess. I treat my family relationships differently than other relationships. Right. And the other thing is, like, that NI bias plays out also in terms of looking at the evidence because she knows that I stayed in my last relationship for 2.5 years, battling the whole time to try to fix her. Yeah, it's baby FI. Right. The worst possible thing for an ESP is to have statuses left undefined. Well, in this instance, Pistofferson, because there is a genuine reality-based power difference, it requires for me to do some active reassuring that she can relax. She's also coming from an environment in which she wasn't allowed to relax. And so when I'm saying I'm instilling it in her, I agree that was a patronizing sounding word. But what I'm trying to say is I'm actively aware of this and I want her to, for example, we've both made progress in this area because it is now no longer the case that neither of us will eat the last piece of something. Am I the leader in the relationship? Yeah. I am. I often just do things without consulting her. Like, come on, let's go. And we just go and like, I knew she was, I think I told her we were going to get food today. We went to like 3 other places. I didn't tell her that we were going any place. I didn't tell her, like I said, okay, let's go get a fish now. But then I decided midway to the fish to go stop and look at this historical monument thing. And she's like, is this where the fish store is? I'm like, oh no, I forgot to tell you. We're going by here to look at this thing. So I mean, in that sense, it's pretty presumptuous of me most of the time. But on the other hand, she really doesn't particularly want to be asked to make a lot of decisions like that. She enjoys doing shit. And if she has a problem or a preference, she'll voice it. Usually she won't even have to. She just has to give me a facial expression. Yeah, she does. Well, she's a receiving type. It's not so much leading as it is pitching. If you are a catcher and you enjoy catching, then you're expecting to be thrown stuff all the time. If you're a pitcher, you want to pitch. Right. You need to explain to him his FB concerns are unwarranted. no matter, as long because he's fully intuitive, assuming he's ENTP, then you don't really have to worry about him going too far with it. But he needs to remember that you're always going to be more worried about what he thinks than he is about what you think. Well, time to go fuck himself. I mean, it is true that on those rare occasions when I feel like about Rachel, it's because I'm hungry. I just want her to hand me some food, and that's starting to uh, happen more too. She'll bring me food sometimes. Yeah, I know, guys. I forget about that stuff too. I don't think we're really disagreeing, Pitch Jefferson. You could call what I do leadership. I mean, certainly when we got together, we both knew that she was joining my life. I was not joining her life. Now, we were both joining each other's lives, and her dad's coming to visit soon this summer, and that's going to be great. And I've had plenty of conversations with her family and stuff. But in other words, I got my shit that I'm doing. If you really like me that much and want to be with me and want to do the shit that I do all the time, well, that you are the girlfriend I'm looking for. Because I'm not looking to do your shit. I'm not looking to go shopping for makeup and stuff. Although I don't mind going with Rachel periodically. I mean, when we have errands and stuff, it's always nice going places with Rachel. She's very easy company. Incredibly easy company. It's just like as comfortable as a worn-in pair of Snuggies on top of the most velour pair of underoos you can find. That's how soft the comfort level is of our interaction. We like to drive around in the car and sing along to songs. We don't have very many responsibilities either. So responsibilities make things more stressful in a relationship. Oh, good. I am so glad, Bobby's son. For those of you who haven't clicked yet and aren't here, the title does require you to click it. So, I don't come complaining to me if you get in trouble. I think the IRS audits people who don't click this title, maybe. As you might have guessed, it is time for the part of the show that we call bong rip time. Is she kind? I mean, INFJs aren't kind. INFJs are not unkind. Okay? INFJs are, if kindness is always avoiding unkindness, then she's kind. But I just don't think INFJs are kind by nature. They're not cruel or unkind at all. But kindness is you know, Cameron is kind to us. He's very kind to us because he tries to help us and stuff, and he's a better friend to me than I am to him, frankly. Okay, you know what? Let's make the name even better than that. Let's call it. Let's do the new way we do things around this universe. We'll call it sobriety enhancement. That should sell well. Call it accentuated COVID mask. Who dislikes ENFJs? Rachel? She doesn't dislike real life ENFJs. She dislikes Oprah. Okay, so it's don't think she actually dislikes ENFJs. She just doesn't like Oprah. I don't like Oprah either. Well, I don't dislike Oprah exactly, but Rachel, like Zandy, well, he purports to be an ENFJ. Rachel and I both like her a lot. She's fantastic. But Rachel, like, this is the sort of thing that makes Rachel mad. Okay. Well, you haven't seen the INFP one yet. I don't think it's released yet, has it? No, not until tomorrow morning. You did see the trailer though. They let you do that now, which is kind of cool. Anyway, what was they talking about? Oh, ENFJs, right. Rachel got really mad at Oprah's credulity regarding Meghan Markle, whom she also doesn't like. So you're not going to see much anger from Rachel made manifest for everyone to look at. But there are things that make her mad. She dislikes Hollywood fakeness. Yeah, she did. She disliked ENFJs before Oprah. She already disliked Meghan Markle before Oprah. She also attributed to a lot of ENFJs around. She also probably misattributed the status ENFJ to a lot of people on YouTube who were saying this stuff that was pissing her off also, which was, I guess there was this like trend of everybody talking about manifesting shit, right? That pissed her off. She didn't like that at all. And she thought that it was the ENFJs largely who were saying that message. I don't think now she thinks that was the ENFJs anymore. I think now she thinks they're more likely to be ESFPs. But at the time, she thought that was kind of like ENFJ bullshit, right? Manifesting. Well, I'm their benefactor type, so I don't find them particularly impressive. The benefactor, it seems, and this aspect of socionics, is the best part of it, is the intertype relations, you know. But the benefactor-beneficiary relationship, the benefactor never really seems to have much respect for the beneficiary. It's yeah. Well, look, but I really think that um uh well, what do you mean by 50-50, pissed Alverson? Because look, there are two people who are spending their time together, willingly, willfully. So there's nothing here preventing Rachel from doing whatever she wants all the time. You know, it's like the fact that she chooses to hang out in here with me most of the time is because we like to hang out together, you know? I don't see it as anything about it not 50-50. It's like I don't have any part of my life that I keep separate from her. Include her in, I mean, there are some things I can include her in, like certain making processes that she's that she doesn't know how to use that app or whatever. I'm starving to death. I have a cheeseburger inside though. Let me go get it. I can't believe I've only been streaming for an hour. I'm gonna be starving already. I had 2 cheeseburgers then like an hour and a half ago. Yeah, I mean, I don't look. The thing about equality in a relationship is we want to talk about it conceptually, but we can't meaningfully talk about it without some actual concrete examples. I gotta go get a hamburger from inside the house. I'll be right back. Like, what's an example of something not being 50-50? In other words, let's say I don't want to do any of the driving and she wants to do all the driving. Is that 50-50 because we both get what we want? You know? See, the thing about power differential is she didn't eat a single bite of this. Is that it's really just conditional, right? Like Well, yeah, I agree. Things can be used different equality or relationship. I mean, so far we really haven't encountered any of those instances that require compromise. I mean, people say that a healthy relationship includes a lot of compromise in some fashion, but I totally disagree. No, not compromise. A compromise is something like, I don't want to see that movie. Well, I don't want to see your movie either. Well, if you see mine, I'll see yours. Okay, fine. That's a compromise. Me being hungry and wishing she'd make me food is me being a baby. It's like the fact that you're with a human being necessarily means that your static notions about what they ought to provide don't represent things that you compromise about, you know? This is the thing, Fitz Robertson. I'm not critiquing somebody wanting to have their partner do more chores. That's not what I'm doing, though. What I say is, periodically, I think, I wish you just put some food in my hand because I'm super hungry at that moment and I don't want to walk to the fucking garage to get something out of the fridge. I mean, the thing is, she also doesn't expect me to cook for her. So, it's like I very well, if I'm lost in my head, may come bring enough food, make food for myself, and not make her anything. So, well, you know where the fridge is. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, and here's the tricky thing. Here's something worth noting too. It is true that Kimberly did a pretty good job of feeding me, but that cost a lot because I mean, but pissed off it's like this. It's an honest conversation you have with your partner. Say, the only reason Rachel making food for me came up between us at all is because, you know, she's a little eggshelly sometimes, and thinking that I'm mad at her about something when I'm totally not thinking about it at all or whatever, you know. And she was wondering if, and she's always trying to, like, Rachel frequently will tell me things like, "Oh, I'll get to that laundry today." And I'm like, is your boss here somewhere? You know, I don't roll like that. I never said to her, "You should do the laundry." Or she never said, "This is I mean, she's taking it on now," but she never said that, you know, "Okay, fine, I'll do the laundry," or anything like that. Well, Pispus Officer, I'm not sure we're really disagreeing. That's what I'm saying. I just think that there's an NI frame in what you're saying that I don't feel at all realistically in my own relationship. In other words, you're trying to define things in terms of an archetype that it fits, representative of some sort of pattern. But Rachel and I have a very specific relationship. It's the way it is for a lot of reasons. And, you know, I don't think one should glean any larger meaning from it. I'm not sure what you're trying to do with this information, I guess, which is fine. It's not my prerogative to know what you're going to try to do with answers to your question. But I don't see the utility of. I was trying to pussify it. I didn't know I was. Maybe in a previous conversation. I don't think tonight. Maybe I was in a previous conversation. Tonight I'm feeling pretty warm and cuddly. I tell you what else is warm and cuddly? A little something called Studio. I'm going to move some stuff a little bit here. I'm kind of in here. Does who prefer older men? Rachel? I think she prefers me. I'm definitely the oldest person she's been with. I am older than Rachel by 14 years. This is another one of those kind of weird things that Rachel sometimes, you know, she feels like she wants reassurance or whatever. Is our age difference isn't a problem for you, is it? I just started laughing because I said, Rachel, the reason you're 36 years old is because that's about as young as I could get away with. No, it's not a problem. That you're young and juicy. Doesn't bother me. Sorry. I guess that makes me like just a dog or something, but personally, I like it. I've never prioritized looks or sexual attractiveness in a relationship before. Now that I have, I realize, oh, that's so important. I should have prioritized that previously. I gotta get a drink from your mom's lactating breast. Can you have her bring it over here, please? No, not from there. From the garage is what I meant to say. I misspoke. Constantly misspeaking. Here's part of the thing about this whole leadership thing. I don't like being led. You know? I don't like the idea of needing to be led. So I wouldn't want to presume to lead in a relationship like that, you know? In an intimate relationship. Or a family relationship or a close friendship or something. If I'm on a team and there's a clear hierarchy, I will be a good team player. I don't mind leadership in that kind of capacity. Let's see, Rain says, Eric, you know how you can read between the lines when it comes to people's behavior? You successfully infer Rachel's thought process. I thought that was an NI thing. Is it something else? I think it's old SI and NI combined. More N though. Really is. More N than anything. I mean, I wonder sometimes how much of a difference it actually makes, maybe even more than it seems, to have a sort of active decision at some point to embrace introverted intuition like I did, at least with music and stuff. Working with an INFJ who's explaining to me, what's wrong with your music, Eric, is that it's got too much random nonsense in it. And that here's what good music is. It's like I had to. I didn't intuit that. I had to learn that, and I had intuited it with the music I listened to, but not with the music I made. So I really embraced NI as a value consciously, even though it's ignored in an unconscious function. That may have something to do with it. But I would expect that all your most intuitive types should be able to do it. Like ENTJ would be iffy because they got TE as a dominant function, but your meta analysts, ENFJs, INFJs, INTPs, ENTPs, they all do it. There's always that subtext stuff. The other thing is sometimes I wonder, well, I seem to be particularly good at a lot of intuition stuff. I'm not sure if it's because I've practiced a lot, because I'm not actually checking against the real competition, because I'm older, because I'm actually more heavily weighted towards intuition or something, or I'm not sure why. Because I was raised the way I was raised. Here's the thing. I'm going to make coming up soon enough. It's going to be a pleasantly easy task. I've been taking pictures of all the photos in these photo albums, trying to convert them to digital photo albums for my dad, and for me too. And it's just begging me to do a stills and narrator video, you know? Yeah, because ENTPs, we always want to get to the higher points. We can understand the bigger picture better. And the SI big picture here is consistent with an NI big picture in the following way. What I've been saying all along is what you see is what you get. This is who I am. I'm not bullshitting you. I'm not interested in hiding shit. I don't have anything to hide. I am very interested in having every bit of my story told, you know, and told over and over again sometimes. And it's like there's some quality of the ENTP. I heard an INFJ one time say this a long ass time ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago. I saw it on a YouTube video. It struck me as extremely true. They say, it said, ENTPs actualize externally. I think it's true. It's like we can't deal with our ontology until we make a model of it, put it out in front of us, look at it, learn about oh, this is what it means to be a person. Like, oh, you mean, oh, I see that. Oh, you mean that wasn't just me being a weak little bitch? That's what it felt like to me at the time. That's what I told myself. As part of my humanness, you say? I've had a great deal of opportunity to do exactly that, actualize externally. I've had more opportunity to actualize externally even than very, very famous celebrities, which is to say, if you're Jon Stewart or something, who's an ENTP, he didn't really have much chance to actualize externally. He had to put on a show, and it had to be successful as a show. And it still helped him actualize somewhat because he learned in making that show some of the challenges of doing those kind of mean gotcha interviews with stupid people. And he learned, like ENTPs often do, and get a bag of something delicious. What is this? Just eat a couple bites of it. Well, this is really good. What is this? Sanctimoniousness. I mean, things are going great, and I'm eating it, so it must be great. And then eventually he realizes, oh, fuck. I've been a douchebag. I mean, I respect Jon Stewart, even though I don't agree with him a lot about a lot of things or whatever. I respect him. I respect his earnest enthusiasm and stuff. But I'm unusually positioned, right? It's like maybe partially because I got to see his bad example, although I would say it's very little because of that, but maybe partially because I'm not susceptible to the same kind of immaturities that he was susceptible to on the public stage, you know? I mean, the bottom line is I'm not in a relationship with a woman. Eric is Rachel's boyfriend. Yeah, it's so that's what that is, you know? It's an intimate relationship is one of those things that only the bad parts of things can really be clearly defined, right? Like you can clearly define some red lines. Okay, hey, you just punched me. That's not okay to punch me. Um, like those kind of red lines are clear statuses that you can sort of apply universally. But it's just like Tolstoy said, but kind of the opposite too. Tolstoy said, every happy family is boring, and every unhappy family is interesting in its own way. That every happy family is the same. Well, I kind of agree with that. Like, happy families are happy because they're on each other's team. They may not always be great teammates, but they all agree the team comes first for a certain level, and uh, it's like uh, when when like when my dad had some identity theft issues a couple of years ago now. Of course, Delilah and I dropped everything, came over and helped. It's like we're family, you know. It's like at the end of the day, there's blood's a hell of a lot thicker than water. I don't know how to explain it except in some sense Tolstoy is wrong. Every happy family is different too. Uh, but they consistently don't make certain mistakes. So my dad may seem controlling to some people or in some circumstances, but he doesn't want to be controlling. He'd like to not be controlling and makes an effort to not be controlling. He'd prefer that, I mean, the thing is, if I hadn't moved that thing, he wouldn't have had to say something about it, So, and that's just the truth. What are you going to do about it? It's the truth. Okay, well, I'm not going to move any more things then. And I don't. I don't even throw away a piece of trash he leaves out when he's gone because he remembers exactly what it was like when he left. And if I fucking move a thing, it's not like he's mad. It's like, oh, what are you using the meow for? And at that point, probably I was using it for some inappropriate purpose. What were you using this kitchen knife for? To dig up worms in the dirt outside? It's like, I try just not to touch shit, basically. I'm just going to get in trouble. Funny. So yeah, I'm gonna make a little SI trip down memory lane retrospective. Yeah. All right, I gotta wrap this up. I'm out of usefulness. I'm tired. I'm tired, I'm stupid, and I'm ugly. Time to go to bed. Only one of those things links to bedtime. Everybody really was kung fu fighting. I don't dislike ENFJs. Jordan Peterson's an ENTJ. I say we don't respect ENFJs. That's different. And that's true. We don't respect ENFJs because they use their NI so clumsily and don't include enough TI. Here, I'll sing a good night song, okay? Here we go. Well, the sun is coming up. You know what that means. Soon enough, it's time for bed. Time for sweet dreams. You've been up all night on speed, laughing happily. Now it will be time to see just how you can sleep, because you know sometimes you can be tired and your mind just race around. You know other times you're watching cartoons, but sleep overcomes you like a veil. So good night and sleep well. Don't let bugs from hell climb up your legs and into your junk. Good night, sleep well, and won't you tell your dream companion that I say hi? Should a phone call awake you, scream into the phone. My sleep's more important than your call. Should mom come get you to take out the trash? Say, if I don't get enough sleep, I'm going to pick up a rash. Yeah, good night, sleep well. I'll see you in hell. But I'll just be visiting on Hell Visitation Day. After I leave, I suppose you'll have to stay. Still, anyways, it's time to dream. You can't go on singing forever in an endless stream. If you don't get winks, then soon you'll die. I told that to the shrink and he said it was a lie. But I said it to the priest and he said I know why. It's because it's time. Yeah, it's time. Because it's time for bed. Because it's time for bed. And that's how you make a bedtime song. All right, well, end the stream then, Eric. You say goodbye now for like 45 minutes. Well, hold on a second. Don't rush me. I still need to pull a couple polls. I gotta move stuff around. I gotta make the bed. I gotta pull a couple balls. You gotta continue making the bed. Then I gotta pull a couple balls. Then I gotta finish making the bed. Then I gotta pull a couple balls. And then I gotta find something to watch. You wanna know what's so sad right now? I'm so sad about this. Crunchyroll's winter season is over, and their spring lineup is not impressing me. It's like I got no anime to watch right now. Yeah, age is a factor. I think it's more of a factor in SI people than in NI people. That's why INFJs are called old souls. Like, ENTPs need to grow up. INFJs need to grow down. Grow down, homie. Grow down. So I like to tell my plants when I stick them in the ground. Listen, motherfucker, you're going to grow down. I want every single one of your roots that way. So far, my threats have always worked. Well, it doesn't work like that. So when you were 20, people thought you were 30. Now you're 30, people think you're 20. When you're 40, they think you're 60. And when they're 50, they think you're 40. And when you're 60, they think you're 80. And when you're 70, they think you're 60. It alternates like that. How many years do you plan to live? Because I haven't finished filling in the paperwork yet, but I'm thinking of writing down 150 years. But that might not be enough. What did you write down on your form? Did everybody send in their new forms? They got the new form saying you have to say now in advance how long you want to live. You can't just choose at the last minute. See, do you really want to write that down? Because then here you are having a great time on your 74th, let's say your 74th year. You're in the middle of just like, fucking your way through the geriatric home. And all of a sudden the euthanizers come and they euthanize you. 15 years of sadness. What's in the box, honey? It's 15 years of sadness. I'm going to put down 150. With an asterisk next to it, though. I do listen to good music. I listen to very good music. The best music around. I go out And I find music made by real musicians playing real things to make real sounds. Watch her show you her Instagram stories. It's so weird how action types are so actiony and receive types are so receivey, because neither Delilah nor I look at each other's shit at all. Neither Delilah nor I look at Rachel's stuff at all. Delilah looks at Delilah's stuff and shows us her stuff. I look at my stuff and show Delilah my stuff sometimes, not very often, because she's so thoroughly disinterested in it. Rachel has an Instagram. Occasionally she'll ask me an opinion about it, and I'll say, like, oh yeah, I like that picture better. But I don't even have an Instagram, or I might, but I never use it. I never look at it, you know. The thing about INFJs, I don't even want to walk down that path of whatever it is they're making. And the reason is because INFJs are always subject to the periodic, now I don't like it, everything. I realize everything's not good enough, and I'm just deleting everything. INFJs like to do that every once in a while. Catherine is an INFJ. Right. INFJs will say, I'm not very nostalgic. That's an INFJ quote. Well, consider how weirdly empowering it must be to have been in Rachel's shoes. She liked me. She wanted to be with me or whatever. She also had a shitty living situation in New York. But she also understood that once you're with me, everything about your life is public. And you'll never disappear from the internet. You'll be all over the street like 50 Cent. Because, you know, not only do I upload lots of videos with Rachel in them, but I tag them Rachel Lapalosa too. And of course, that in that regard, there is something to do with knowing what you're getting into, you know? Like, Rachel knew clearly what she was getting into because she had been watching me live my life for probably a year before we got together, you know? Well, in that sense, she didn't have a lot of choice, right? It's it's one of the nice things about people who aren't FI polar. INFJs get the fact that you got bag A and bag B. You're not necessarily going to get exactly everything you want in either bag, but you can't take things out of bag A and put them in bag B and back and forth. That's what ESFJs don't get. ESFJs think, you're wonderful. I'm so glad I chose bag A. Now we just need to take out the parts of bag A that I don't like and put in the new parts of bag B that I do like. Well, the thing is, that's again a unique circumstance, because what Rachel needed more than anything else was justice, like she needed to win the arguments. And she thoroughly won them all. I mean, it had to be one of history's greatest late inning million Grand Slam comebacks. And very gratifying to me, extremely gratifying to me, to have a girlfriend who both needs and wants my particular skills. Because ISFJ didn't want me to win arguments on her behalf. Didn't trust me to fight for her, Rachel trusted me to fight for her. And when somebody trusts me to fight for them, and they're having me fight a kind of fight that I'm naturally designed to fight, and am doubly good at for reasons of experience and stuff like that, that's just like heaven. From an outside perspective, somebody might say, well, you're helping her. It doesn't work like that at all. It's yeah, I helped her, but it was a team thing, and it was like, oh my God, this is gonna be fantastic. Together, we can so prove us both right. How magic is that? You can't stand going to dinner and talking yuckity yucks? What's phase 3? You don't mean anal, do you? If you are going to engage in anal, it should be phase 3. You should phase top to bottom, All right, baby. Time for you to relax that sphincter. Time for phase 3. The problem is, INTPs hate NI. Because NI leads to SE, and they're SE polar. Concurrently, ENFJs constantly use their NI and think SE is the only kind of reward that really matters. So that's why they don't really end up together very much or stay together very much. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, what happened there was Gandhi was just seizing an opportunity that fell in front of him. He had skipped meals for 3 consecutive days to avoid the incredibly banal chat offered by his contemporaries there in India. And on the 4th day, somebody came up to him and said, "Oh, Gandhi, you're hunger striking. It's a good way to get things changed. We're telling the papers and stuff." And he said, I am? I'm hunger stricken? He said, yeah, look at the paper. Well, I guess I am hunger striking. How long do you think I'm gonna have to do this shit for? The guy said, well, you naturally didn't eat for 3 days just to avoid conversation. You're obviously not a huge eater. And the guy said, the funny thing is, normally I am. It's been kind of an odd month. I think maybe I picked up a bit of a yeast infection from my wife. God, you're not married. I mean, I picked some yeast up from the bakery. Gandhi, have you been fucking a bunch of young Indian chicks? Okay, yes. But I didn't eat any of them. 23. When you have managed to really spiritually ascend, you don't need to eat anything that's ever been alive. You can get by simply by taking in, absorbing, breathing in, smelling, and otherwise accumulating the natural energies around you. Well, Pistofferson, I'm going to explain that to you right now. You see, hate is a form of negative natural energy. And it doesn't matter what slot you're in. What we need to do is simply you're not angry, but you're firm. Just send those negative emotions away. Today, we're here to talk about manifesting and how you too can have Mercedes-Benz, yachts, diamond rings, big parties, huge things, small things, children, no children, grandchildren, grandparents, grandchildren without children. That's the miracle one. So you don't have any kids and you still manage to have grandchildren. Well, hi, we're interviewing David Blaine today, famous magician. Can you please explain what you're talking about here? Is your trick? Yes, you may recall that God once was thought to have done something pretty magical, and it was called the Immaculate Conception. So I was going to do that, but somebody pointed out Jesus already did it. So I got a magic trick that's going to blow your mind. Like, see these rare old people here? They have no children. Now watch this. Grandma, Grandpa, Betty, David, why, it's our grandchildren. See? Immaculate grand conceptional children. Immaculate grandchildren. What are whose interests? Well, I'm interested in funny voices. I like movies, rom-coms. I like rom-coms. I love Vince Vaughn. He is a hunk. But on a more serious note, I like French literature. I enjoy the classics. I enjoy Jacques Cousteau's book on the ocean. I like, of course, I like the Kardashians. I like reality TV. I like I like using my vagina as a moist towelette. Are your hands sticky, buddy? Come on over here. Now they're still sticky, but it's a different sticky. How do others use your vagina as a moist towelette? I imagine going. Let's get where at KFC or Popeyes or something. The person goes up and says, "Oh, hi, can I get some moist towelettes?" Ooh, sorry, dog. We were all out. Maria, what? I'm making it. We got another moist towelette thing. Do I have to? I mean, what? Who else is there? Can't John do it? Maria. What about Sylvia? She's in the bathroom. Okay, fine. A man needs a moist towelette. The customer's always right. Get out of here. It's like, smoking hot, pigeon-toed 19-year-old comes out in this like Taco Bell outfit. Okay, here you go. Yeah, just put your hands right there. I know I don't have one of the electric dryers attached to me. That's so weird of you to ask. Okay, you've been in there long enough. I think you're just playing around. Okay, I really am going now. Because is it really 6 in the morning? Last I checked, it was I was gonna go to bed a little late tonight. No, I'm gonna tell you something, 60 IQ. That if I were gonna get a fast food uniform for Rachel to wear for sexual role play, it would definitely be the hot dog on a stick uniform. I'm pretty sure that the whole company of hot dog on a stick was created just so whoever came up with it could get teenage girls to dress in those ridiculous little costumes. Would you like some lemonade? Okay. Yeah, there you go. It's getting late, getting early.